Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about the power of belief. Now, for anybody who's been paying attention for the better part of the last 5 years, there is a new belief, a craze, and it is sweeping the nation, and it's called Trump denialism. Simply put, it's the belief that there are alternative facts that can explain away anything that is happening in reality. And if you look on a map, you will notice that the strongest outbreak of this is happening in a wide swath across the Gulf of Mexico, or what I like to call the Trump sandwich. You see, there's a big piece of white bread in Florida and a big piece of white bread in Texas, and everything in the middle, well, that's just the Trump red meat. That's the filling for the sandwich. And also, when you describe it, it kind of looks like Donald Trump playing the invisible accordion while he gives a speech. So you can see it all comes together in a very odd sort of symmetry. So, what I would like to do today is, rather than just looking at a map and seeing a bright swath of red that is indicated by both the hyperactivity of COVID in the specific region, as well as just how Republican the state legislatures are and how hard they are helping to push Trump denialism, rather than just looking at all of that and sloughing it off as, well, that's what happens, I want to actually take a look at some of these places and some of the granular information. It's pretty easy. We're just going to nibble our way through the sandwich real quick so that you can understand exactly what's going on inside these bricks of red that we see on a map and that we sometimes fail to consider are filled with actual people, not all of whom are Trump supporters or fans of the denialism of science and reality. Let's take a look. It's a lot of stuff. I'm going to go pretty fast. Here we go! Let's kick it off with the first piece of white bread on one end. It's Texas. Governor Greg Abbott, positive for COVID. Now, this should not be surprising, even though the governor has gotten not one, not two, but 3 shots. That's right. He already got his 3rd booster. He still contracted COVID because he doesn't wear a mask and he goes out in public. Where does he go? Well, he goes to fundraisers, and they look something like this. Woohoo! Look at that party. I don't know if it's a hoedown or a hootenanny, but what I'm pretty sure of is all those people are old, white, rich, and not wearing a mask. So it should not be surprising that he contracted COVID. Also, since he's vaccinated, it doesn't look like it's going to be a fatal illness. The governor should recover. He's currently resting in the governor's mansion, and he's getting a treatment of Regeneron, which is a treatment you get not to prevent COVID, but to keep it from killing you once you contract it. Also, it costs between $4,000 to $8,000 a treatment. Abbott is now pushing this treatment and clinics for this treatment all over the state, because why push free vaccines when you can push $8,000 treatments? Governor Greg Abbott, always on point, always got his eyes on the prize. And meanwhile, while Governor Abbott is busy contracting COVID and passing it around because he doesn't want to wear a face diaper and, look like he's sacrificing his freedom to the libturds, well, all the schools in his state that are banned from creating and enforcing mask mandates are coming up with rather unique workarounds on the fly. Why? Because 2 million kids in the state of Texas are about to go back to school, and, well, super spreader events happen. So, quick round of applause for those who are trying to find workarounds, like making masks part of a dress code. Go ahead, Governor Abbott. Sue him. It seems to be your favorite thing to do anyway, while you're imitating Donald Trump, trying to get that good old Trump bump. And then, of course, if you do live in Texas and you have the gall to do something like show up at a school board meeting or, some kind of get-together with other parents and teachers at a school the week before school starts to discuss mask mandates, well, prepare to be assaulted by some freedom-loving anti-masker who wants you to know that maximum freedom can only be achieved after they assault you and then force you to do what they want you to do. Yay, freedom in Texas. And of course, all that freedom, it comes at a price. The price of needing ginormous air-conditioned mortuary trailers to get brought to your state because you don't want to stack the dead bodies up outside the hospital in 110-degree weather. That's right, this is what freedom looks like. And your life is the price that other people are willing to pay to ensure that they can still have maximum freedom in the Lone Star State. You know, the one that doesn't need any help from the government other than when they declare a national state of emergency like 6 times a year to get federal funding and then tell the federal government to go fuck themselves afterwards because freedom and Texas. Yeah, it's a whole thing, but don't worry, I promise you, it doesn't get any better as we move across the Gulf. Let's show you. Let's start moving east, people. In Oklahoma, the entire state medical infrastructure is on the verge of collapse due to COVID patients overwhelming the hospitals. There are no more ICU beds. There is no more space in the hospital. Literally, people are having to put off cancer surgery as their tumors grow because all of the hospitals in Oklahoma are filled with people polluted with COVID and the Delta variant, the majority of whom, of course, didn't bother to get vaccinated. And continuing over to the east into Louisiana, where there are now more than 3,000 people hospitalized with COVID and more than 120 deaths from COVID in a single day. Also, their entire hospital system is swamped. Their ICUs, statewide, currently at 110% capacity. And in the often overlooked but never totally forgotten state of Mississippi, they want you to know that they are still statistically relevant by jumping up the charts all the way to the number 3 per capita mortality of any state in the United States of America. That is what we call reminding people that you're still relevant. Yeah, Mississippi, it's still there. They got a state and a river and everything. It's really neat. They just they don't have any ICU beds, so maybe don't get COVID if you're in Mississippi. Also, don't expect to drive over the border into Alabama. Yeah, because they're at 110% of ICU bed capacity for the entire state also. It's almost like there are no places left to airlift people to because every single neighboring Republican state with a Republican legislature is at 110% capacity. And again, I'm starting to think the belief that you can just overpower science and reality with the power of your mind is probably not a real thing. What you need is the power of science and vaccination. If you don't believe me, go look at all the states where they still have ICU beds. And of course, in the lovely state of Georgia, aka Florida's top hat, hey, just checking in to let you know, they now have a solid 1 million coronavirus cases. Also, schools are back in session, and the majority of schools do not have mask mandates or high vaccination rates. Expect this number to go up. And I'm reminding you of this because unfortunately for Georgia, they border Florida, which means Georgia technically doesn't get a lot of attention because Florida likes to suck all the oxygen out of the room. Here, let me show you what the other piece of bread, the other end of the Trump sandwich, is looking like as Ron DeSantis tries to outpace Greg Abbott in the national Trump-off leading to 2024. Well, to start with, there are entire school districts, entire counties, entire zip codes in the state that are now in full quarantine because every man, woman, and child, every student, every teacher, every employee at the school is banned from wearing masks. So what do? They just all breathed on each other, right? And just passed around their COVID particulates like a doobie at a biker rally. And now, literally, the entire state is contaminated to the point where school districts are having to call emergency meetings trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do because, again, the governor wants all the students back into school, not distance learning, and he also doesn't want masks because he has to virtue signal to the evangelical Christians and the Trumpers that he's the Trumpiest Trumper in all of Trumpland. Remember, he is the heel of the bread in the Trump sandwich of the Gulf Coast. And of course, as counties and districts grapple with all sorts of lockdowns and quarantines and how to deal with keeping people from dying while still forcing everybody to go to school without masks, well, of course, they have the same problem as everybody else in the Gulf. there's no ICU beds left. Entire counties are just filling up, and they're at 110% too. So again, there are places where if you get sick, there is literally nowhere to go to get treatment. Of course, Ron DeSantis isn't all that concerned with that because he's just concerned with advanced 2024 polling. In fact, Florida is so overwhelmed and Greg DeSantis so does not give a fuck that Florida now has 2,500 people with a piece of garden hose stuffed down their fucking throat and a plastic bag taped to their ass while they're in a medically induced coma. But again, Ron, totally okay with this. In fact, those 2,500 people, he's willing to sacrifice them just to get another poll bump and some more donations from the reddest of all the Reds in Republican Trumplandian Redville. So what does all of this mean to you, the average viewer at home, the person watching this right now? What it means is that you can't trust people out there. Yeah, it's great that, the mask mandates got lifted and everybody else can go out and be free and run around in the park and breathe on each other. And, once again, they're exercising their freedom to send other people to the hospital with a deadly pandemic. I'm glad y'all are enjoying your freedom. I have the same freedoms. You know what I'm doing with that freedom? I'm wearing a goddamn mask and avoiding the majority of you because you're polluted. We are literally in the middle of an evolving, mutating, viral, global pandemic. Cut the crap with the everything is fine and we're going back to normal attitude, because all that's going to do is take all these people who believe that they're not going to get corona, and it's just going to get more of them infected and killed. Wear a mask, limit exposure, keep distancing, get vaccinated, and for the love of God, stop going out and congregating in tight spaces with other people not wearing masks. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this public service announcement. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet and I am out. Peace.